All right. Good morning, Texas Longhorn fans. It is it is the Red River Shootout Day, Saturday morning. We are getting ready to head to Dallas to attend the game. I'm not as optimistic as I have been in the past. In fact, this is probably the least optimistic I've been for a game. But regardless, it's always fun to get up, cheer on the team, get up to Dallas, get into that stadium. The whole energy around that place is incredible. If you've never been, you have to go. It's easily my favorite game to go to each year. We have got a good group of friends that go, family that go. Getting to trash talk the Sooner fans before we walk into the stadium is all time. I mean, just the way that place is divided. I mean, you know all of the characteristics of that stadium and that game. But being there is something else. So you haven't been, I highly recommend it. Let's get into some of the preview. I know the rest of the 41st Acre wasn't able to get on here and give any kind of preview for this game. I mean, I can tell you from their perspective, it's probably a little bit downcast after that Florida loss. No one was really expecting that loss, especially after the way Florida's been playing. Maybe we had some preview thoughts that Florida was going to be a really good team to beat. Still remains to be seen if they're going to turn around their season. They have a tough game against A&M today. So that's going to tell us a lot about that Florida team, whether it was a Texas loss or a Florida really good win. But look, here's the storylines for this game. John Mateer, let's just start off on OU's offense. John Mateer, is he playing? Is he going to be Johnny Mateer? I don't know. It seems really quick to be coming back from any kind of surgery. I think it's 2 weeks now since that Auburn game. Maybe it was 3. But regardless, can he grip a football? Is he going to be able to throw it, or is he just a decoy? Kind of reminds me of Terrell Owens in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. When was that? Man, that was probably 15, 20 years ago when they just kind of used him as a decoy. He couldn't play, he had a high ankle sprain, but couldn't play. So is John or Johnny Mateer going to be out there today? And is he going to have an impact? It's a good question because their offense could be very dynamic. Otherwise, we're playing against Michael Hawkins, who we played last year. Seems like a capable backup, but he certainly didn't look like that last year. So we'll see. We'll see who the quarterback is. That's going to be big for this Oklahoma team. But I want to get right into the Texas offense. On paper, this is probably the most horrifying matchup of our entire season. We're going against potentially the number one defensive line in the entire country, if not number one, probably the top 5. These guys are mean. What's his name? R. Mason Thomas is going to be a first round, early second round draft pick next year. Look, these guys got embarrassed last year. They got embarrassed 34-3. And the one side of the ball that can take advantage and use that as motivation just to get a little bit meaner, a little bit uglier on that side is going to be the defense, especially the defensive linemen. I mean, a lot of times in the trenches, it comes down to who is the more aggressive team. I promise you, Oklahoma is going to come out swinging big. And here we go again with Texas's offensive line, which has proven to be poor. Not average, not a little below average, just poor in general. I mean, we've got a starting lineman who graded out on PFF's passing grade last week with a 4. A 4 out of 100. I don't even know how that's possible. It basically means that you failed every single time and you gave somewhat of a good effort on like one play. Let that soak in for a second. That's who we're contemplating. Actually, that is who we are starting. That was Nick Brooks, and he is a starter for this game against, like I said, a top 5, number 1 defensive line in the country. Does not bode well for Texas. I expect Arch Manning to be running for his life again. I will give Arch a lot of credit from last week. I mean, you go back and watch some film. Some of the throws that he made under duress, under pressure, they had a ton of pressures on him. He was sacked 6 times, but I bet he was under pressure on 75% of his dropbacks. That touchdown he threw to Ryan Wingo, he got hammered afterwards. I mean, the guy was just hit. He was sore this week. Texas's ability to score on offense comes down to him playing hero ball at this point in time, unless we see dramatic improvement from the offensive line. I'm not expecting a lot. We haven't been able to run the ball once this entire year. I don't expect that to change. Offensive line, like until they do something else, like I don't know how this team scores any points. It just seems impossible that we could score more than 20 points in a game without some sort of defense or special teams impact. So not looking good on the offensive side. And again, against an OU defense coached by Brent Venables, a great defensive line. Haven't even talked about their defensive backs or their linebackers. Don't need to. You lose the game in the trenches, and it's pretty much over. So that's the offensive side of things. See how optimistic I am? I'm feeling really good about this one. On the defensive side of things, I think this could be a slugfest. I mean, it depends on how much our guys get up. If we look like we did against Florida last week, where our defensive tackles are getting pushed around by an inferior offensive line, then we're going to see the same results as last. We're going to see unexpected points from OU's offense, and we're going to see us ultimately crumble, just like we did last week in that first half against Florida. So, I think the big thing to watch here, similar to on the flip side, is how does Texas's defensive line disrupt OU's offense? Starting with the run game, are we going to let them gash us for 8 yards per carry like we did in Florida last week, or are our defensive linemen going to plug holes and our linebackers are going to fill any kind of gaps and stop the run early and force them to try to throw over the top? Because if that's the case, this game's going to come down to a slugfest. It's going to be, the over-under, I think the last time I checked was 44 points. It'll be under that because you get Texas's defense going and OU's defense is going to be going. It's just going to be a slugfest. It's going to be an old-school Alabama versus LSU, early 2010s type of game. You don't do that. You don't stop the run, and John Mateer is somewhat healthy. It opens up Oklahoma's ability to score on you not at will, but substantially more than we can score. So I'll say that. I don't think that they're capable of scoring a lot of points. Oklahoma is. However, their defense is good enough to where they could create some turnovers and some big plays that could lead to some easier points. Again, I'm expecting a slugfest, but I can see it either way. Special teams suck. I don't know anything about Oklahoma special teams. We've had some unbelievable special teams plays in this game in the past. You think everyone immediately goes to the 45-35 game where I think we were down 14-3 at that point. Oklahoma kicks off to some unknown name, Jordan Shipley. Just kidding. And kicks it off to Jordan Shipley. He takes it to the house, brings it to 14-10. All of a sudden, the game is completely flipped on its side, and Texas comes out on top, 45-35. A few years later, what was that guy's name? It was one of the Case McCoy teams where we upset Oklahoma. What was his name? DeJay Johnson, something like that. He was kind of a dynamic runner, backfield guy. Caught a punt, took it to the house. It kind of sealed the game for Texas on that upset against OU. So special teams has always been something big. So let's see if maybe Jeff Banks can get his group to do something positive and not something negative. Big punt return, maybe a punt block. Punt blocks are always fun in this game. I remember Justin and I were at a game a few years ago. I want to say it was the game we lost, 34-30, but we blocked a punt in that game. Someone will have to fact check me on that. So let's see if special teams is going to be a factor in this one. All right. So overall, we've talked about it. I'm not optimistic. I'm going, cheer on the team. I'll be heartbroken if we lose. I'm such an emotional fan when it comes to that. But I'm not optimistic. And unfortunately, this will be the first time that I'm ever picking against Texas in my final prediction. So for me, the over/under is 44 points. Like I said, I don't expect this to be a high-scoring game. I just don't know how Texas can score without defense and special teams, and you can't count on a lot of points from that side of the ball. And so with that, I think we will have some hero points in there. Man, unfortunately, I'm gonna keep it close. Again, let me take a step back. Texas opened up as a 10.5 point favorite per Yahoo Sports on Sunday last week. 10.5 point favorite after that appearance at the Swamp. I'll just call it an appearance because we didn't even play. That's unbelievable to me. I mean, how could we possibly do 10.5 points? Now the line is right sized, and I think it's now in Oklahoma's favor by a point and a half, or maybe it's a pick 'em at this point, but still ridiculous. So, anyways, I digress. Getting back to score prediction, I hate to do this. This kind of hurts me a little bit, but I'm gonna say OU 24, Texas 16, and that's gonna be my prediction for the game. This is a much better defense. I don't see us scoring as much as we did against Florida, which I think we ended up scoring 20 points or 21 points against Florida. I don't think we can score that many points against this defense. I hope I'm wrong. Do not get me wrong. I hope that I am wrong. I hope that Texas fans are listening to this, or Texas players are listening to this, which they aren't. They shouldn't be. But if they do, I hope they use it as motivation. Hey, we got to prove Brett wrong and the 41st Acre wrong. For the record, I am not speaking for the rest of the 41st Acre. Ben and Justin, I'm sure, are picking Texas to win this game. I know Justin is. He mentioned it in a text earlier this week. But for me, 24-16, my final prediction. Texas goes down at the Red River Shootout this year. And, yep, we got to live that down. Tough. Regardless, we're going to have fun today. We're going to try to enjoy it. We're going to watch the team develop. Hopefully we see a better showing out of our offensive line. And, hey, maybe we shock the world. At least we shock this producer right here. And all of our offensive line issues are cured, and we're able to run the ball, establish a run game, and Arch Manning can do what he's supposed to do, which is have a few seconds in the pocket and make some downfield throws accurately and make good decisions because he's not under duress the entire game. Not a high likelihood of that happening, but it's not completely out of the picture, right? I mean, these guys are D1 athletes. But with that, hook 'em, as always. We'll see you at the game. And, as always, 41st Acre out, Brett's out. Enjoy the game, be safe, and let's talk after.